Hey, gang, a little something special today as we drop this in the feed. It's an episode of a new podcast from coaches Craig Robinson and, wait for it, John Calipari. It's called Ways to Win. It's a fun podcast. I highly encourage you to listen to it. But as you'll hear in a couple of seconds, this is a tad bit out of date given what just transpired as we drop this during the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. Let's go. On Ways to Win, Craig and Coach Cal use their off-court wisdom to solve off-court problems. Whether it's trouble at home or a workplace dilemma, the coaches will help you find a winning formula for success. And you'll hear from prominent athletes, business leaders, and celebrities who reveal insights into what made them the leaders they are today. On this episode, there's no better way to kick off March Madness than with President Barack Obama, and Craig's favorite brother-in-law, by the way, who drops by to break down his bracket. Now, of course, that bracket may already be a tad bit moldy, given that we're dropping this a week after, or the weekend after the weekend's beginning of the tournament, right? Find out who's in his Final Four and how far he thinks Coach Cal's Kentucky Wildcats will go, even if Coach Cal doesn't want to know. Now, I'm not going to blow it for you, but you know that the Kentucky Wildcats are already bounced out of the tournament. But you'll want to listen to see where President Obama had them and his thoughts on where Kentucky was going to be at the end of the day. Plus, here's the kicker. The guys chat about how Cal's preparing his players for the first round of the tournament. Well, we know how that wound up, and what it takes to lead teams under pressure. You can listen to more of Ways to Win wherever you get podcasts, and I highly encourage you to find it. This is a great episode. It's fun despite the untimely demise of the Wildcats from the tournament. I hope you enjoy this special drop here in our feed. As always, please enjoy.
Hi, this is Barack Obama. I want to talk to you quickly about the latest podcast from Higher Ground. It's called Ways to Win, and it's hosted by two guys who know something about winning. Legendary Kentucky Wildcats coach John Calipari and Craig Robinson, the former head coach of Oregon State, head of the National Association of Basketball Coaches, and my brother-in-law. Their new show is all about how on-court wisdom can solve off-court challenges. March Madness is the perfect time to talk hoops, and so I couldn't resist hopping on, and I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did.
Welcome to Ways to Win, where we use on-court wisdom to solve your off-court challenges. I'm Craig Robinson, a.k.a. Coach Rob. My co-host is the legend John Calipari, and this is our first episode. Selection Sunday just happened, and everyone's filling out their brackets. I know I've filled out mine, and I'm actually feeling pretty good about it this year. But today we're going to talk to someone whose bracket always grabs some attention. My brother-in-law, President Barack Obama. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, my man.
I am very pleased to be here, also known as the bracketologist in chief. Having said that, let me just offer a little caveat here. I don't think I've won my bracket in 8 years or something. So all listeners may want to do the opposite of everything I do if they're actually in a pool and think they want to win some money.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because you have actually not done badly. You've done pretty well. It just you haven't done it in a while.
I haven't been able to go the whole way. I will point out that I picked Kentucky in 2015. I'm thinking you got Cat, you got the Harrison twins, Coach Cal, and we were moving forward. And I thought, finally, vindication once again. And Coach, I hate to bring back bad memories, but
if I knew what you just told us, I would have said, please don't pick us. Don't pick us.
You think it was me?
Oh, no question. No question.
That's fair.
So, Cal, now that we are in this 3-day window here before the tournament, what's your life like right now? And what's your team's life like right now?
Well, last night, I'm in the office late. The coach that we're playing against, Greg Campy, and I are dear friends. He's a guy at Oakland that all these jobs are opening. I'm stunned that he's not in on some of these jobs.
Right.
Really a good coach and a great guy. I took my team bowling yesterday, and we cut them up and made it competitive. And I just wanted them to take their mind off stuff.
How's your bowling?
That we had a coach with each team. They had to pick a coach.
All right.
I bowled the first four. This is how much I know about. I'm going to call it the first four
frames.
No, I'll call it the first 4 rounds.
Oh Lord!
And then I had a sub, so I was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think you answered the question not even knowing what frames are. What do you call them? Rounds?
Rounds.
Come on, Coach.
Rounds.
Oh Lord.
So, Mr. President, I know you're here to reveal your bracket, which you do just about every year, and I always look forward to it. And our listeners have to understand, for so many years, I've been a practicing coach, so I could never really participate in the brackets. And so knowing that, I know Cal doesn't want to hear what your picks are.
I don't want to know.
If we happen to mention Kentucky, we don't want him to get all nervous. And so we're going to have him sign off. And I want to hear your picks. So Cal, I'll give you the high sign when you can get back on, and then so you sign off. Let us talk about the picks.
You guys have some fun. I got business.
He was getting nervous.
He was going to get nervous because he knows that I love his team, but his team is young.
So let's dig into this bracket business.
Yep.
First of all, the first year I did this, 2009,
right?
I'd been sworn in, and I picked North Carolina. This is the one with Lawson and Hansborough.
Yep.
And they won. And my bracket was beautiful, and people were pretty impressed. They thought, look at the president of the United States. He's in the top, 4% of all the people who enter in their brackets publicly.
Uh-huh.
And I was kind of feeling it. And I thought, you know what? I think this is what's going to happen every year. And I'm pretty sure each year I've lost since then. So I have not necessarily picked a winner. And I'm a little sad about that.
But you've been a good sport because you have continued to make picks. My
attitude is, that it gives people great pleasure. With all the intelligence I have available to me, the CIA, the NSA, all that input.
Right.
When they beat me, they feel good, and I want to give people that satisfaction. So,
all right,
with that build up, I'm going a little chalk this year, and I think UConn's going to take it.
Okay.
But you know who I've got playing them in the finals is Kentucky.
Oh, I'm glad Cal signed off. He'd be in tears right now.
He'd be getting too stressed. So I've got UConn, Kentucky, Purdue, and
in the West?
In the West, my big upset, I'm picking Baylor over UNC.
Ooh, okay, that is an upset. So you didn't go chalk. You didn't go chalk.
No, I didn't go entirely chalk.
Yeah.
Complete chalk. Look, all teams have bad games, but you want to finish strong. Going into the tournament, and I looked at that and I thought I still have Houston, getting to the Elite Eight, but
got it. Okay,
but I think that Kentucky beats them. I've got Purdue playing Tennessee in the Elite Eight.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the name of this kid at Tennessee who is a baller.
Oh, you're talking about Connect.
Exactly. Connect.
Yes.
Even his name.
Yes.
Connect.
Transfer from South Dakota State,
right?
Which is changing the game.
I like a guy like that who is a 3-level scorer. He got a nice 3-point shot, can go mid-range, can drive. And Tennessee's team, looks to me well-rounded. So I actually think that I think they can beat Purdue. But in the end, I picked Purdue just because they've been consistent throughout the year. And I think that's going to be a close game, but I went ahead and picked Purdue in the Final Four. You know I love North Carolina. One of my favorite memories of my presidential campaign is scrimmaging with the North Carolina team in the Dean Dome.
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, I lasted about 5 minutes.
I remember that. Roy Williams still talks about that to this day. He's retired, and, he and I have gotten to be good friends.
Yeah,
and
he's a great
talks
guy.
about that all the time. And he loves the fact that you were able to score in the scrimmage and then, do a walk-off.
Well, I like the fact that that's how the story is told.
Yeah.
It is true I scored, but I did not walk off because I was feeling cocky. I was out of breath, and it was literally 5 minutes in. First of all, Ty Lawson was on that team. He was so fast. At some point, there was a fast break, and I'm backpedaling, and I just tried to foul him. He was too fast for me to touch. I could not reach out to hack him. He just zipped past me. I went in for a drive at one point, and I think I have a picture of this. And Tyler Hansbrough, with those big eyes, was coming at me. And you see the picture of me, and I'm going up for the layup, but I see him coming, and I'm thinking, what if he hits me? What's going to happen? But the main memory I have of that is that most of the time the teams were in transition, and they'd be on fast breaks, and I'd be running one way and everybody else was already running the other way. And even the big lumbering dudes were 3 times faster than me. And it was just a reminder that I was an adequate recreational player and a good high school player, but I didn't need to be on that court with those guys. Man, it was impressive. Anyway, I say all that because I love North Carolina.
Right.
Love the Tar Heels, love the tradition. But, I try never to just go straight chalk on my brackets. Houston's the number 1 seed, so I picked Kentucky over Houston. This is the other number 1 seed that I felt was a little bit vulnerable, despite the fact that they've got one of the best point guards in the country. So
yeah.
So I'm going with Baylor, but then Baylor's going to lose to UConn. I've got UConn playing Kentucky, and I got UConn going all the way.
There we go. All right. Now I know I want to get Cal back in here, but I want to get I'd be remiss if I didn't get your women's Final Four.
Women, here is my tradition. Women, I tend to go chalk.
Yeah.
Just because, unlike men's college basketball, the superstars stay in college as long as they can, like Caitlin.
Right.
So as a consequence, upsets are more rare in women's basketball than they are now in men's basketball.
True.
Women's basketball today is a little bit like men's basketball was when we were coming up, 30, 40 years ago. So I've got South Carolina winning, full stop. And it's not just that they have amazing depth, but I love me some Dawn Staley. She's just got swag.
Yeah. All right, Cal, you can come back now.
Coach, you're back on.
Put those headphones on. He's having trouble putting those on, just like a coach.
We're not talking about y'all anymore, so you're safe. We're talking about women's basketball now, and I was just saying that I'm picking South Carolina to win this thing, and I was complimenting a fellow coach, Dawn Staley, who I think is outstanding and just has attitude and swag, and you can tell her players just love her, and she's tough, and they play disciplined, and I am a big admirer of her.
She's really good. She's really good.
Yeah.
One other thing you picked, you don't remember this when I first said he's going to be our next president. You picked Derrick Rose to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft.
I did.
And I said, and that's why that man is going to be our next president. Oh, I got killed over that. I was getting killed.
Yeah. Well, listen, here's a good story about Derrick. I didn't really know him because I'm in the White House when he's playing for the Bulls. I'm watching, I'm cheering him. Craig will remember this. For my 49th birthday, we put together a White House all-star game. It wasn't technically at the White House. It was at Fort McHenry, where I used to play pickup. And we had all these NBA stars. I mean, LeBron came, Chris Paul, Carmelo,
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade. Everybody was there. Maya Moore actually played. She was the one woman playing. And we had 3 pros and 2 amateurs on every team. And so we're out there hooping. And I have to say, Craig, I hit a game winner. I threw an oop to Dwayne Wade. People were reasonably impressed that this 49-year-old president, who had other things to do, was balling a little bit. Derrick Rose was there, and I had a chance to meet him. He was very nice, and we talked about Chicago. He's on some sports radio thing a couple of days later and said, "Hey, Derrick, we hear you played with the president." And Derrick says, "Yeah, so how was the president's game?" He said, "Well, you know what? He hit a couple shots and he can hoop, but he's pretty slow." And I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, dude, first of all, you're the fastest guy in the NBA. And I'm 49. I am sure I seemed slow to you. Yes. Come on, Derrick. I mean, he didn't say, he was doing pretty good he was comparing me to him.
I think you're looking at it the wrong way. I think that is a low, as the young people say, that's a low key compliment, right? He said you hit a couple of shots, and then he was comparing you to the other guys who are out there playing.
That's cool.
Other NBA All-Stars, NBA All-Stars,
the NBA All-Stars who were could have been my children. Yes, you're right. The fact that he even took the question seriously made me feel pretty good.
Listen, we are going to get into all kind of basketball stories, but I got to get your other 3 Final Four for the women. So you got South Carolina.
I've got Stanford.
Okay.
I've got Iowa.
Okay.
And I've got USC and Juju.
Wow. Juju Watkins.
How about her?
She had 50 like a week ago, right? 2 weeks ago.
She can hoop.
She made me hearken back to Cheryl Miller.
Right. Who, when you think about Cheryl, people don't remember how good she was.
She could do everything. It was like watching magic.
Yes.
With the jump shot.
Yes. Which is why she used to whoop on her brother.
Yeah. Made him a pro.
So,
she made that dude a pro.
Yeah. So I've got that's my Final Four. I've got Iowa and South Carolina in the finals, and South Carolina winning.
All right, great. And I want to remind our listeners that you can see the president's whole bracket online. So you don't just get the Final Four, you get all of his picks. It will be on his Instagram page at Barack Obama.
I've got to ask this question of the president. I asked you a question on the golf course. I said, are you going to miss making decisions? Are you going to miss this? And here was your response to me. I'm going to miss my people, my team. I had an unbelievable, that's what I miss every day, being with them.
Yep.
So when you were in high pressure situations, when you had to give that keynote at the Democratic convention, that's you dealing with that pressure yourself.
Right.
I would like to know how you dealt with it by yourself. But how about when you had things going on at the White House and you had your team and they had to see you and they were going to feed off of you?
Right.
How did you deal with the pressure for them as a group?
That's a great question, Coach. How to deal with pressure. For me, myself, learning to deal with pressure, a lot of it's just reps, right? I mean, by the time even I gave the Democratic keynote, I'd been speaking and, campaigning for years. And so you make mistakes, you screw up. It turns out it's not the end of the world. You get back on the horse. You realize, all right, here's some things I need to do to prepare. And Although I will say Craig knows this story. The Democratic National Convention speech, which was my big kind of, premiere in front of a national audience. Right as I'm about to walk off stage, Michelle, who's with me backstage, I'm being introduced. Michelle grabs me by the hand. She looks me in the eye. She says, "Honey, don't screw this up," which was perfect. And we started cracking up. And nothing like some humor to break the tension. With my team, the thing that I think I'm sure you do with your team is you can't let them see you sweat. You have to project confidence in them. And the thing I used to emphasize, and I'm sure there are analogies in coaching, my attitude with them was, look, if we've run a good process, if we've done things right, if we looked at every angle on this decision, if we made sure that no stone was left unturned, if we have evaluated all the possibilities, if we listened to the people who disagreed with us, and we weren't engaging in kind of biases and groupthink, if we've done our jobs and we can trust that process, then everything else is going to work out. We'll be okay. And I think there's an analogy in basketball, right? Which is, look, if we do what we've know we're capable of doing, if we've practiced hard, if we've know our plays, if we're taking care of the ball, if we're making our free throws, if we're going to make some mistakes, it's not going to be perfect. But if we have that sense of that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we'll be okay. And I think that getting people in good habits, so that's what is drilled into them under high stakes situations. I think that's important. But they've got to look at you and see that you believe in them. And I think that's true in any sport. You watch the Super Bowl, you can tell everybody looks at Mahomes and they go, "Oh, okay." Mm-hmm. Dude's just got that. He has that "I've got this" vibe.
Yeah.
Just like Brady did.
I'm so glad you brought up that analogy, because it leads me to the next question that I have. And you and I haven't talked about this before, because usually when we get together, we're catching up on family and kids and all that kind of stuff. But if you think of the White House as a team,
right,
and you're the president, did you think of yourself as the Patrick Mahomes or the Andy Reid? So the star player or the coach?
Sometimes you're the player, sometimes you're the coach. You're sort of the player coach, right? And what I mean by that is, I'm the coach when I'm putting together the team and putting people in positions where they can succeed. I'm the decision maker, right? So you're assembling a team that is complementary and playing off each other's strengths, and in that sense, you're a coach. But when you're having to make a decision about going after bin Laden or saving the auto industry or what have you, then you're sort of Mahomes, because you're on the field and you're the one who's got to execute and make the decisions. And
you got to make the plays.
Yeah,
you got to make the plays.
You got to make the plays, and you also have to, you're the public facing, you're the front man who's having to explain what we're doing, and in those situations, part of the role of the team is to make sure that they also know my strengths and weaknesses, and that they can kind of tell me if I'm messing up. I've got to be, one of the things that I had to be good at is not just talking, but listening and taking criticism, and making folks feel safe to say, "Yeah, Mr. President, you weren't at your best there, man. You are talking too long at the press conference." And Everybody was falling asleep.
Right.
Make it a little snappier, buddy.
But, one thing that I think is important in all this is they feel safe, what you said. They feel safe that if things don't go right, I'm going to take responsibility. And I think, I can't remember you ever, if something happened, you took it on. I remember, hearing, John Kennedy's thing about the Cuban Missile.
Right.
This is on me.
Yes.
This is a mistake I made.
I think that's a great point, Coach. And that is I've seen you do that. Yeah, I know you yell at your players. A lot of them are kids.
Where did you see that?
Come on, man. But that's what they need, right? I mean, these are 18, 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. But you're fierce about protecting your players publicly. And I think that I can't emphasize how important people feeling as if you've got their backs and that they're not just serving you, but you're also serving and looking out for them and building that trust, because then that's when folks run through a brick wall. That's when they're not super self-conscious constantly and second guessing themselves. And that's the kind of culture that I think any organization, doesn't matter whether it's a sports team, political team, business, if you see the person at the top always looking for somebody else to blame, I'm not confident that organization is going to succeed.
Can't trust them.
Can't trust them.
We'll be right back with more ways to win after these messages. Now, Cal, I know, Mr. President, I keep calling him Barack, but Barack was going to have some questions for you. So while he's thinking of questions for you, I have one for you. How are you feeling? You know where you're going. You know who you're playing. How are you feeling right now about your team? How are you feeling about the tournament? And sort of walk us through sort of in your mind how you're going to get them prepared.
Well, first of all, the pressure on us is to prepare. So the next few days to get us in the right frame of mind, that will be the pressure. After that, I've got to be a cheerleader. So I've been hard on the guys, and you challenge them. Now you got to be a cheerleader. I've got to, in the next few days, continue to get them to understand you have to play like you have nothing to lose. How can you get yourself in that frame of mind? I'm not going to let anything happen to anybody in the room. So go let it go. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. We just got to make less than they make. You don't have to make every shot, but we are the best three-point shooting team in the country. So we got to keep playing that way. That's our strength. I'm going to get them in the locker room today talking about why we can win this. Go around the room. Give me a reason why we can do this. And I want them to believe, like I'm looking at this, I think there's 6 or 8 teams that we're one of them that can go do this. That you talked about putting people in the right places. I think it's for us as coaches, you put them in the right seat on the bus. But you have to have a couple stars who can just take over a game, even if it's for 3 minutes.
Right. You got to have some dogs, who can just.
They take over, and it may be on defense. It may be making 4 baskets in a row that creates a gap. I have those guys.
Right.
And so but here's the other thing. We are so young. We're the youngest team in the country. Normally, we're playing against 22-year-olds.
Right.
Now they're 23, 24, 25-year-olds. And so that's an issue that I've got to continue to deal with and figure out ways when they're so much more physical than us. How do I tweak our defense? Craig, and you know this, there are times we've been good defensively.
Absolutely.
And there are times, Mr. President, we're just trying to outscore the other team.
Right.
We're like, they scored 100. Great. Let's score 105.
Right.
And so I don't want those kind of games in this tournament. But we may have a couple. but we got the players that can play that way. So my thing is next couple days preparation is all on us. And from that point on, you got to let your hair down and let it go.
You know, that you just raised an interesting question that I hadn't really thought about. You know, in the NBA, it's well known that there's a difference between regular season playoffs, right? Refs let them play a little bit more physical. I'm not sure I've noticed as much of a contrast in the tournament versus during the season. How the referees, control the game, does it change a little bit during the tournament? Let them play a little bit more?
It does, because it's the cream of the crop of the officials.
Right.
And to advance, they have to have done a good job in the games. And it's a crew. So you got to work as a team. So if one guy loses his mind, that team of officials, they're done. So it's never personal because they want to advance.
Right.
You know, you get in the season, you see the same guy, you're on him, he's on you. You know, the NCAA tournament is totally different than that.
Right.
So that kind of stuff, like I told the team a few times, don't worry, we get in the tournament, it ain't going to be like this. We'll be fine.
Well, I know you don't want me to jinx you, but I agree with you that as young as your team is, that backcourt is impressive, and you've got a bunch of folks who can put the ball in the hoop. And you being one of the 10 teams that can win it sounds right to me.
But we're going to have to perform, and I think it's my job. What we did yesterday, I had a video of each player playing great to music that they like individually, each player, and it was sent to them. We sent
now,
on that.
Hold on a second. How do you know what music they like? Coach Cal, come on, man. How up to speed are you?
No, and I can't dance like you. I've seen you dance before, too. I can't. That's out. Bowling is out. The music I listen to is what's on, and when I walk in my car, what's on there. But when they're introduced at Madness, they get to pick their music, so I listen to it.
Okay.
I don't know some of it. We had Drake came in.
Let me say so you do know you do know there's a guy named Drake.
Yeah, he and
Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole. I'm just curious what's on your playlist, Coach.
What's ever in my car. But I don't know, like I said, that they know all the songs, but they knew their song
was on their tape.
Oh, yeah. And then we put 13 defensive stops when we were at our absolute best. Here's what we look like. And then I did, after we were picked, I had a team-wide video that they could see themselves at their best. A lot of this is a mindset.
Right.
And I'm trying to do everything I can without overdoing it.
Right.
Yet I need them to feel safe. Play the game, feel safe.
Right. Well, especially at their age, right? I mean, look, Coach, that's been your history at Kentucky. You're bringing in blue chip guys who are very young, and they know that you do a great job in training young people and making them feel safe and confident, and then go on to the next level. But that's a particular skill you have that, as you said, when you're playing teams that are older and with more veterans, that can be tough.
And that's what we've got to just continue. And that's why I wanted to ask you. I talked to Fred Smith about when things go bad and then when things go good. He said, when they go bad, I walk in that office and I pick everybody up.
Yeah. When
it goes good, I'm really being more aggressive so that we keep moving forward. We don't rest on our laurels. But, this is a little different. And it's one and done. And like your wife said to you when you walked on that stage,
don't screw it up.
That was one and done. That was one and done.
You screw that one up, and that's all she wrote. For listeners who don't know, Fred Smith, head of FedEx, former Marine, great guy. And I like that philosophy, and it was true in the White House as well. I'm a big believer in don't get too high when things are going good and don't get too low when things are going bad. And I think projecting that to your team, it's like, if they're feeling themselves a little too much, that's the time to, talk about all the things they've screwed up. And when things are going bad, that's the time to say, hey, look, here's some good things you guys are doing. And if we do more of that, we're going to be okay. That feels right to me in terms of leadership. But yeah, Craig, is it time for? I want to ask Coach and both of you guys, I guess, a couple of questions about the changing environment of college basketball, because we're hearing a lot about transfer portal and NIL and how difficult it is now to maintain consistency in programs and so forth and so on. And I have to say, I am happy that young people who have talents and gifts and oftentimes, are coming from families that don't have a lot, are able to monetize what they do and, have flexibility and can be entrepreneurial. I have to assume that it creates more challenges from a coaching perspective, the same way, the change to one and done, change the environment. So talk to me a little bit about, what you guys are seeing and what aspects of it do you think work? What aspects of it are you concerned about? So, Coach Cal, maybe you kick things off, or Craig, you want to
let Craig, because Craig is overseeing all of us and he knows at every level. And then I'll tell you where I see it.
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, Mr. President, your position on this is very similar to the majority of our coaches. Our coaches are very excited about the fact that players are getting a chance to earn some money on their name, image, and likeness. And that's from a global standpoint. And,
Right.
there are going to be some individual anecdotal situations that are both really good and really awful, and most of everybody else is in the middle.
Right.
But I think what we have found, and our organization, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, we've talked to all of our coaches, and we're talking about just about every college coach from every level. The culmination of NIL, COVID, as well as the transfer portal all happening at the one time was a recipe for disaster.
Right.
All of this happening at one, we didn't get a chance to sort of figure out what would be the best path for student athletes.
Right.
And, we as coaches, we're going to evolve, right?
Right.
But the one thing we're charged with is we're on the ground, and we are responsible for making and helping these student athletes be successful, whether they're going to be NBA players, which most of them won't be,
exactly,
or not. And I know some of our coaches feel like they're being chased out of the game because it's just hard work, but we'll find an equilibrium point at some point.
Right. Coach, how are you feeling about all this? And
well, first of all,
you're not ready to go Nick Saban on us, sorry.
No. But let me say this with what Craig said, and this pops in my mind. There's no crying on the yacht. The jobs that we have and what we do. My dad was a baggage handler. My mom worked at the cafeteria in the junior high school.
Right.
I'm having a chance to change families' lives.
Right.
What's better than that? So we're in this situation because we put ourselves in this situation. We wouldn't share early. We wouldn't give the kids an opportunity. And it blew up in everybody's face. The issue right now is, Mr. President, here's what's happening. When we all went to school, we were looking to get out as fast as we could.
Right.
We weren't looking to stay in school another 3 years.
Right.
Kids are looking to stay in school longer because they have NIL money.
Right.
So I'm saying,
especially the folks who, obviously you're talking about folks who are not going to get drafted.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
And then the other piece being, I've never promised starting positions, minutes, shots, plays. I don't do that. But it's being done now because they're doing whatever they can to put a team together. And then NIL comes into it. Well, what are you willing to pay me? What? They'll say this one. What's the number? And I said, you want my phone number? What number are you talking about? And
what's the number?
So
Man.
And I'm hoping the kids that come here, it's a bigger picture. Like we have, can I do some humble brags here?
Please do.
Some 30 guys in the league, 14 max deals. Our kids have made over $4 billion. 70% of the kids that go through our program that are scholarship players get drafted. You don't come here for an NIL deal. Right. Now, by coming here, you're going to get a trading card deal that's off the charts, not by us, because of who you are and where you're going to school. You're going to get other deals because you are a Kentucky player and you are a first-round draft pick. Right. And then we try to supplement and do things for the walk-ons, all the other guys, and even the best players. Right. But everybody shares in this. Could you imagine your locker room if two kids get all the money? How do you do that?
Yeah,
what would you do?
It's tough. I assume it would be tough to coach. Now, but you look, good example, Devin Booker. I don't know how many shots you let him take in a game, but he wasn't going off for 70 when he was playing for you. And
yeah, he reminds me of that too, by the way. But go ahead.
but that's the point, right? Is that for the most talented guys, in some ways, they'd be better off in a situation in which they're getting the kind of fundamentals, discipline, tough love that they're going to need when they take it to the next level. And
don't quit when it gets hard.
And don't quit when it gets hard.
That's the thing that we
that's
have
the thing
all
I
learned.
worry about. Right.
And to your point, Barack, that's what I worry about the most, because life doesn't get easier as you get older. It gets harder.
Yeah.
And we have been programmed to teach these kids how to deal with adversity as after they leave us, and it gets harder to do when they just stop and move on when things get hard.
Well, and look, the people who succeed are the folks who work hard,
who live in the gym. They live in the gym.
It's the Steph Currys and the Durants and the LeBrons, the most talented guys who also work the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
Are the guys who end up not just getting championships, but also getting the contracts and the endorsements and all that. And the folks who haven't built up those work habits and have a sense of working through adversity and get that resilience, those are the folks who, typically underperform. Whatever happens with this NIL and transfer portal, et cetera, I do hope young people with talent, whether they're a walk-on or they're a one and done, part of what I hope they're learning if they go to college is to work through some stuff that is uncomfortable and unfamiliar, because otherwise you're going to get stuck and you're going to get lazy and you're going to avoid the things that are going to make you grow.
I've got to throw one thing in this, Craig. I got to make this sound right, because I'm saying the right stuff for the right reasons, but it may come across wrong. I still worry about mental health for these kids. And here's what I'm saying. We're all talking about, not many of them are going to be NBA players.
Right.
So now they're 24 or 25 years old, and they're making $200,000, $250,000, maybe more. Well, their career is going to end in a year or two, and they're not going to be professionals. Their first job, the guy offers them $60,000 or $70,000.
Right.
What? Wait a minute. Well, do I get a car? Do I get an apartment? Are you getting me food? Are you? And you try to tell our guys here that that's an average salary, and it's a good average salary. If you get that to start, you're in good shape. I brought in financial planners to talk
right.
about compounding interest.
Right.
Do you know what this would equal if you put it in a? I mean, I worry about that stuff because we're just, all right, we're doing it for today. Let's just build a team, give them what we got to give them, and now we'll go. And then all of a sudden, those kids are out. What have we done to prepare them for what's ahead?
I think that's a great point, Coach, because, with this NIL money, and I don't have a good enough sense of what somebody who's not going to play even in Europe, but is a good contributor. I don't know what they're making. But let me say, if over, 2-3 years, they're making six figures, if they're making a couple $100,000 during their college careers, I hope they've got a plan, because they're not going to see that for a while. You're talking about 60,000. I remember when I moved to Chicago, my first job, $13,000.
Oh.
Now I'm an old man, right? So this is 1985. But even back in 1985, $13,000 wasn't nothing. I was eating Campbell's soup and tuna fish in my little studio apartment, sleeping on a futon.
Oh man. Well, listen, that reminds me. Before I promised your staff that I would get you out of here in a timely fashion, but I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on for our first episode and talking some hoops and talking things going on in the game and catching up. But there's one more question I wanted to bring up before I let you go. And I don't know that our listeners know this, but the Obama Foundation is building a 45,000 square foot multi-purpose athletic and event space that features a gymnasium with a regulation size NBA court on it.
Wow.
And there'll be practice courts and it'll be flexible seating so you can do all types of stuff in that space. And my question is this the first presidential library with a regulation size court?
Oh, that's an easy question. I guarantee it's the case. I guarantee it's the case. And it will also be the first presidential center in which there will be multiple all-star games on there, and we might have Coach Cal coach one of the teams when we get out there. So
I'm in.
I'm
in.
But I won't. Here's the thing: is I will not be playing because, like Craig, I have hung him up. I played all the way through the presidency.
That's right.
The last time I played was November of 2016, right? So just 2 months before I left office. And man, I played great that day.
Yeah.
I was raining down threes and had this spin move, finger roll for the win. And I was just firing on all cylinders. And at the end of that, I said, "This is the devil talking. And the next time I play, I'm going to tear my Achilles is going to pop.
Achilles.
And I'm going to be in a boot for 6 months. I'm stopping right now. Right now." And I have not played since. And I've had at least 10 friends who popped their Achilles since that time, trying to
I feel you.
be those weekend warriors. So,
oh, smart man.
I'll play y'all some horse, but we're not running up and down that court.
Hey, before we go, Cal, you sure you don't want to hear Mr. President's picks?
No.
Mr. President, thanks so much for being on, man. I get to see you more often than most folks, and I just know that you need to know how important you have been to the people who are listening. They love to hear from you. They love to hear what you have to say about anything. So come back anytime. We'd love to have you.
Well,
and please tell Mrs. Obama that Coach Cal, Craig didn't ask about her, but I did. I wanted to know how she was doing.
She won't be surprised by that.
I talk to her all the time.
Listen, you know how siblings are. You know, you should hear her talk about Craig and how, he was always mom's favorite, and
she still can't get over it.
No,
it eats her up to this day. And she's iconic. She's famous. Okay, Mr. President, thanks for your Final Four picks. But I want to let our listeners know, if you want to see the full bracket, not just the Final Four, but he'll have his full men's and women's brackets on Instagram at Barack Obama.
Great to talk to you.
All right.
Peace out.
Hey, I just want to let you guys know, if you have a question for me or Coach Cal, feel free to submit it to our Instagram page at Ways to Win Pod. You can ask us about any challenges you have, and we can use our on-court wisdom to help solve your off-court problems. That's at Ways to Win Pod. And then we have another episode coming tomorrow. I talked to Cal a bit more about his pre-tournament preparations, the madness before the madness. We'll hear that conversation on the next episode of Ways to Win tomorrow, Wednesday, March 20th. Ways to Win is a Higher Ground original, produced by Roulette Productions in association with Coaches Plus. Our producers are Misha Jones of Higher Ground and Brittany Brown of Roulette Productions. Our engineer is John Delore. Executive producers for Higher Ground are Nick White and Dan Fierman. Creative development by Janae Marable. Executive producer for Roulette Productions is Jody Avergan. Our talent booker is Britt Kahn. We get video support from Bad Brain Digital. Special thanks to Joe Paulson, Natalie Wren, Andrew Epen, Chris Woolard, Jay Sharman at Coaches Plus, and Paul Archie at JMI Sports. I'm Craig Robinson. Coach Cal and I will be back soon. Thanks for listening.